What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan, and in today's video we are taking our Robinhood Action Discard Revival deck online to Pixelborn for the first time. Going to be going up against some of the more meta decks in the format, and we get our butt kicked. So in our first matchup, we go up against Emerald Amethyst. This is a bounce control style deck. Now, one of the good things about playing online versus playing at locals is people have no problem just wiping the floor with you online. There is no remorse. I was kind of confident against this matchup. I was thinking that if I got a good opening line, I'd be able to just spam the Robinhood, be able to play all those abilities. What you'll see actually happens, though, is there is too much early game removal for us to really get our board set up, and then we kind of just fall behind and are never able to catch up. Also, as the game is just getting started here with the mulligan, I do apologize in advance if the cards are shown off camera, and I really didn't mess with changing the POV in Pixelborn Connect yet. I've since figured out a better way to show both the hand and Pixelborn at the same time. So moving forward, the quality of what you're going to be seeing for gameplay is definitely going to increase, and hopefully my actual gameplay skills increase as well, because I felt like an absolute noob in all the matchups today. So starting off, they just get an ink for your welcome, and then they play a Chernobog. We unfortunately do not get our turn 1 play, so all we do is ink, and then we pass it back to them. Next, they're going to go ahead and ink a Cogsworth, and then play a Ursula. So we do have to show our hand. We only have one song in our hand. That's going to be a Pirate's Life, but our opponent also asked for just a little clarification on what the Pride Lands does, so we take some time to show that to him as well. Our opponent also quests with their Chernobog, choosing not to use its action, so they get the first lure on the board, and we draw into a Dragonfire here. But then again, another problem that we found out with this deck here today is there are no turn 2 plays if we don't draw into our Li Shang combo. So unfortunately, we just ink and we pass it right back to them. Then they're going to go ahead and ink a Kick Cloud Kicker. And then for 3, they're going to play a Lyle Tiberius. We don't have any characters on the board, so nothing gets reckless. But now anytime we take out one of their characters, we're going to lose a lure, making it a lot harder to get our lure up and clear the board as well. We go ahead and ink our Maleficent Dragon, and then for 3 we get our Pride Lands onto the board, hoping to get just a little passive lure, and then also being able to hopefully use its ability later in the game. Here our opponent goes ahead and just quests with the Chernobog, going up to 4 lure, and then they're going to go ahead and put 2 damage onto the Pride Lands with Lyle Tiberius, and then for 3 they're going to bounce their Chernobog, play Madam Mim, and fully get rid of our Pride Lands, so completely canceling out our last turn and keeping the board tempo up in their favor. Then they can just go ahead and get one more lure with their Ursula, and they actually ink the Chernobog that they picked up into their hand. We go ahead and we ink our Server Stitch. Now that we have 4 ink, we go ahead and play our Enchanted Robinhood, hoping to get some free actions out towards the next turns. And then of course, just on cue, they're going to use 3 of their 4 ink to play a Kick Cloud Kicker, bounce that Robinhood back to our hand unfortunately, quest with everyone to get an even bigger lead. We're having a real hard time getting anything to stick on the board against this Emerald Amethyst right now. They pass it back to us. We're going to go ahead and ink our Tuk Tuk. Now that our Pride Lands is off the board, we have really no use for it. And here, for the first time, we actually get a good peek of what's in my hand. I've got a Uninkable Scar, Uninkable Sisu, a Dragonfire, a Robinhood, and a Jim Hawkins. We're going to try and play the Robinhood yet again. They go ahead and play a Ursula, so we have to show them our hand. Unfortunately, we don't have any songs in our hand. They do ask about the Dragonfire, but that's just an action, so they can't get rid of it with the Ursula. Then they just go ahead and quest with all of their available characters, going even further ahead, getting to 11 lore to our 0. They're going to ink another Chernobog, and then play another Lyle Tiberius. Again, we have no characters on the, or we do have a character on the board. We have the Robinhood on the board. So now he can't even use his ability, and we have to either sing with him or attack into one of their characters. We don't have any songs since they played that Ursula, so it almost guarantees the way that he set that up that we're going to go ahead and need to attack with him unless we pulled a song on that draw. Go ahead and just put 1 damage onto Cloud Kicker. Fortunately, there aren't any good targets. Robinhood only has 1 attack, so he's not going to be taking out anything that our opponent has. We go ahead and we play a Dragonfire, getting rid of that Madam Mim, just in case they have any bounce options. We want to get that off the board, although they're so far ahead in the lore total that you're going to see very quickly it's not going to matter much. They go ahead and take out our Robinhood with the Lyle Tiberius, putting 1 damage on him, and then also questing for 4, getting all the way up to 15, and we still have 0. We have no cards on the board. We've got a bunch of uninkables that aren't going to help us. Go ahead and they play a Rabbit for turn, drawing a card, and then they pass it right back to us. Go ahead and we ink one of our only inkable cards with that Li Shang, and now we're actually able to play one of our removal cards with that Scar. It's going to be able to attack into multiple things on our opponent's side of the field, taking out pretty much everything. We go ahead and we just start taking out the Ursulas because they only do 1 damage back to the Scar. It resets itself when it takes out an Ursula. Then we do it again to the second Ursula, give him another damage. Next up, we target the Kit. Now he's at 4 damage, and he gets ready 1 more time. Take out 1 more card, and we're going to take out the Lyle Tiberius with no damage on it. And hopefully that's enough to swing the game in our favor, but with it being 15-0, with now no cards on the field, it is not looking so good for us. We pass it back to the opponent. We're going to go ahead and quest for 2 more, getting to 17. And then for 4, they're going to play their goat up to 18. So now we have to remove that goat. They're going to get up to 19 guaranteed. So it's pretty much game over here. We reset 1 more time. We do have 1 more ink in our hand, so we can play the Sisu, clear the board just a little bit and maybe delay for a turn. And then after Sisu comes down, just the goats left on the field. They do draw a card off of the rabbit, and then we have a weird disconnect for a little bit, although it doesn't matter much. We come right back into it. And then to end the game, they actually top deck into their bounce. So they quest with the goat. They bounce it, get up to 20, and good game to our opponent. Like I said, we got the absolute floor swept out under us. As you can see, our first match in Pixelborn Connect did not go as we expected. And now on to our second matchup. Right, and now on to matchup number 2. We're going up against Ruby Sapphire. We have a mirror match in terms of our playmat and our sleeve color, which is pretty funny and we had a good laugh about. Alright, so starting off here, in our opening hand, unfortunately we don't hit our 1-drop, so we just ink a Pirate's Life and we pass it over to our opponent. Yet again, missing the 1-drop is going to be the death of us with this deck, because then we don't have a turn 1 play, and most likely you don't have anything to play on turn 2. We do have the Li Shang in our hand for a quick shift discard character to get those cards into the discard, but unfortunately without the 1-cost Li Shang, we're not going to be able to play it until turn 3. So we go ahead, we ink a Pride Lands Jungle Oasis, and then yet again we pass it back to our opponent. They are going to go ahead and for 2 ink, they're going to play that Tipo, get up to 3 ink by inking something from their hand, and then they'll go ahead just pass it back to us. We draw into another Li Shang, so we could technically play this Li Shang and then shift, discard, get rid of something from our hand, but we don't have any of our big late game characters in our hand at this point. So we just go ahead, we ink one of the Li Shangs, and then we play just in time to get a Robinhood out onto the board. We're going to go ahead and sing 1 jump ahead with Tipo, getting even more ink into their inkwell. They're at 4 now, and then they're going to ink for turn here, putting a Cusco, I believe, into the inkwell. Since we played our Pride Lands already, they don't need to worry about it in their head. They get another Popsicle down on the field, and then our Robinhood is not long for this world because a Brawl comes out, instantly getting him off the field, unfortunately. We do have another one in our hand, so we're thinking we could sneak another one out. Then we can get those actions rolling. We play a Maleficent into our inkwell, and then for the full 4 cost, we'll go ahead, play the Robinhood, hoping he can stick around and start firing off those actions and really start to build the tempo in our favor. They're going to go ahead and ink a second Tipo, and then quest with a Tipo, passing it back to us. This Robinhood does survive for a turn, so we're going to open up the turn by questing with our Robinhood, activating his ability, getting some lore onto the board, and then we look at the top 4 cards of our deck. If we pull an action with 6 costs or less, we get to play that for free. And the camera angle is horrible, but we do get a revive here, putting the 3 cards, the Maleficent, the Scar, and the Rapunzel, into our inkwell. But revive has to get resolved first, so we have to play the Robin Hood. So now we have 2 Robin Hoods on the field. Now, since we got the free revive to get a free character out on the board, we have some ink to play our Pride lands. We've got 2 of the 3 pieces now in place in order to start playing those big name characters from our discard pile. We have some good options with that Maleficent and the Scar. We ink a Li Shang, and then we pass it back to our opponent. If we draw into like a Tuk here, we'll be able to move 2 characters to Pride lands for free, move the last one over, and then we'll be able to like instantly play that Scar. They go ahead and ink again for turn. And then they play a Maui. Maui's going to go ahead and take out one of the Robin Hoods. So that foils our plan of being able to, on this turn at least, use the Pride lands. And then they go ahead, they put 2 damage onto our Pride lands. I thought was 2 damage because with their camera angle, I forgot to flip it horizontally. So I got confused and thought that Tipo had 2 strength, but he actually only had 1 strength, so we'll fix that in a second. So he does put 1 damage onto Pride lands. We're going to go ahead, quest again with Robin Hood, get our 2 lore, and then unfortunately, we whiff on our actions. There's the Tuk that we needed as the 4th card, and unfortunately, even though we run 20-something actions in this deck, we don't hit any of them. That's going to force us to have to just ink again per turn, and then I think we end up going ahead and playing another Pride lands just because we know that Maui's going to end up taking the existing one off the board. So I want to try to get the combo off if I can, and then also just playing to our outs. We're going to just have to keep inking. Hopefully we can get our Sisu out on the board, start getting a lot of lore very quickly, maybe have something that can take out some of their characters. We pass it back to them, they reset. Alright, so on their next turn, they go ahead, they ink a Fishbone, they play a Sisu flat out, so they actually get rid of a Robin Hood yet again, unfortunately. And then they're just going to go ahead and take out one of our Pride lands. That's going to come off the board, and then I believe they pass it back to us. Alright, and then on our turn, we're going to go ahead and ink a Pirate's Life. We don't play our Sisu yet. We just leave it in our hand, and we pass it back to them. They've got ink. They've got 8 ink now on the board, and they're going to use all of it, or they're going to think about all of it. They're going to pop a Popsicle first to heal their Maui, although they don't remove the marker yet. They use all their 8 ink to play that Tomatela, bringing their Popsicle back. Maui's going to go into the Pride lands, putting 6 damage on it. And here's where I actually think that the Tipo has 2 strength. So I take my Pride lands off the board, even though it should be alive with 1 health still. They go ahead, pass it back to us, and we draw into a Rapunzel. We're able to put that into the inkwell, and then we now have 8 ink. So we play our big Sisu. It only gets rid of a Tipo, and then we pass it back to the opponent. And here we have just the opponent just remembering that they forgot to take off the damage from the Maui. So we let them just take that off and reset. And then our opponent actually realizes that we took the Pride lands off the board too early. So he actually lets us reset as well, bring that back onto the field with the damage, gives us the passive lore for the turn, and then he goes ahead and he's going to take it out with Maui anyway on this turn, but just a nice casual back and forth, letting each other just fix the mistakes that we made. Once we have the board all settled again, he goes ahead and just plays an ice block, gets a little bit more lore with this Tomatela, brings back a Popsicle when he quests, plays it, draws, and from here he's going to be able to just start steamrolling with that Tomatela. We have no way to get rid of his items with our ink ink combination. He plays a Tomatela, just getting to look into his deck, the top 2 cards, puts one on the bottom, and then he's going to take out the Pride Lands with the Maui, quest with the Sisu, and really start to pull away in the lore total. For our turn, we actually draw into a Maui, so for 5 ink, we'll go ahead and play that, and then we will use that Maui to, I'm pretty sure we go into the Sisu here, getting it off the board, and then we're going to end up questing with our Sisu, and their Maui will end up trading into our Sisu, so a pretty funny trade between Ruby players here. And then after that's done, we pass it back to our opponent. He goes ahead, and finally he has a Hiram in his hand, so he goes ahead, plays that, gets rid of a Popsicle, draws 2 cards, gonna quest with the Tomatela, bring that Popsicle back. He's getting lore, he's getting all that card draw, and then just doing normal Sapphire things, playing Solitaire, and quickly going to be able to close out this game, especially when we have no cards in hand. We're going to have nothing on the board here in a second. He goes ahead and ice blocks our Sisu, so now it only has 4 strength, and the Maui survives for the turn. Quest again with Tomatela. Now they're up to 14 lore. And then for their final ink for the turn, they're going to play a Fishbone Quill to get even more ink. And then they haven't actually inked for this turn. We've got nothing on the board, so they can get rid of their second Maui. They play Visions of the Future to go even further into their deck. We know they're looking for that lucky dime. They pass it back to us. Draw into a Revive, which is going to allow us to actually bring our Maui back onto the field. Allow us to take something off of the field, which is pretty cool. But even with the Maui, we are pretty sure here that we're going to end up losing this game as well. We take out the Tomatela, just so that we can take out another card with the Maui that they have to attack into us. They reset their board state here, reset all their ink, but that doesn't matter because they have a lucky dime in hand. I think they would have won the game anyway with the Tomatela. They are able to quest, get up to 20, and they win the game here. And then I actually ended up playing this opponent multiple times throughout the day. Unfortunately, they all went the exact same way. With a lot of the early game low strength removal that Ruby has, that Emerald has right now, it's just too hard to get this deck to get anything out on the board and to have it stick. We're going to need to go to the workshop if we want to make these ink colors work together. We're going to have to completely retool the deck for what everyone's playing. If you guys watched along, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to pull out a victory with one of my more fun decks to play with, although I guess against the top meta decks, it's not really fun because we don't get to play our deck at all. We did miss a lot of our curve. We were never able to play a turn 1 play. We were never able to play a turn 2 play either. So definitely some weaknesses in the deck, and going to be looking to revamp it for what's really common in the meta. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've got more videos like this with better recording angles, better quality coming over the next few days here. I am starting to more play with our Sapphire Steel and our Amber Steel decks just because they fare a little bit better into the current meta. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, we are almost at 1,000 subscribers, a huge milestone for the channel. Once we get there, we're going to give away our D23 collector set. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.